Okay, once again, just making a video with a general direction of a couple topics or something that I want to go over, but basically just talking. Anyways, so first of all, let's start with relativism versus absolutism. Okay, when someone makes a statement in an absolute sense, upon analysis, you find that what appeared at first glance to be an absolute statement was actually a relative statement. Okay, and some relative statements that people make, upon analysis, you find was in real truth an absolute statement. So let me give you an example. Thou shalt not kill. That to us sounds like an absolute statement. Don't kill, right? But people will generally agree that, say you're in the military and you're in war and someone's coming at you or doing something. I mean, and most people who do subscribe to the Ten Commandments and to God and the Bible will say, well, in that situation, you can kill. But that's not really what he's referring to. Okay, so what appeared to be an absolute statement, thou shalt not kill, now turns into something more relative. You shall not kill unless, and then whatever circumstances there are that go against this seemingly absolute statement. And thus, it is in real truth a relative statement because there are circumstances which appear to go against the statement, thus making it relative. Now, a seemingly relative statement, you shall not kill unless there's reasonable cause for you to kill. Okay? First glance. That's a relative statement. It's very relative. But let's further analyze it. That statement you can absolutely follow. Do not kill unless circumstances make it reasonable. It's an absolute statement. Absolutely, that is true. There are no circumstances that go against it. So what appears to be relative is actually absolute. What appears to be absolute is actually relative. Okay? Now, people talk about the truth of certain things, okay? So you say, what is the truth? I mean, you question them on basic concepts. And of course, they'll refer you to the definition of that thing. And so essentially, there's a belief that the definition, that the truth of a thing is found in the words or in the definition. Okay? Yeah, so anyways, so essentially that means that through knowing we define, basically, okay? So that means that you cannot define unless you know. But you cannot know unless you define, since our knowing is based on, apparently, those definitions which we give it. So in order to know, you must first define, because how else would you know that you know what you know? You must first define it. But in order to define it, you must first know it. So what is this process of definitions and labels versus knowing? You know, what is this? What do these labels really mean? Do these words absolutely capture the essence of what you're going for? And I might have talked about this stuff in my last video. I don't really know. I'm just thinking of something I just basically recently mentioned. So basically, I'll talk about something else. So people often talk about knowledge, certain types of knowledge or human claims being straying from the source. You know, they view them as purely human ideas or worldly ideas, or maybe even ideas of the Antichrist or something like that. I don't know, but they see them as being strayed from the source, and that could only be if they see the possibility of straying from the source. And if you could stray from the source, then what kind of source is this, anyways? Because that must have a source too. And is there a source other than the source? And no, there's not. So, essentially, do not reason away the possibility that you could lose touch with your source. Do not create this possibility. By creating the possibility, you make it so. Okay, so one way of looking at it is that reality, as we know it, is essentially a loop. Okay, you speak of things existing, not existing, or somewhere in between, or some sort of a combination between the two, okay? So, by labeling something as real, or existing, or not existing, absolutely, they exist. They do not exist. By doing so, you create that. If you say something exists, it does exist. But in so doing, you also create the non-existence of that. And in so doing, you create a whole range of things that are mixes of them, or compromises between them. And so you create an entire loop, basically, based on this possibility that you create by labeling it, and thus limiting it. So, what I'm saying is, if you constantly search, you'll find that you'll just travel in circles. Because these circles come into existence through our incessant need to search and to define and to give answers and have answers. Through so doing, we create loops, and there's no beginning and no end to a loop, so we just go in circles and circles and circles until you stop needing these things, needing to define things so absolutely. So yeah, I guess it's good enough.